Last week, The Information reported that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman sent a memo to employees warning of rough vibes ahead. That warning came ahead of Google's rollout of its Gemini 3 model, which sparked debate over whether the search giant is actually closing the gap with OpenAI when it comes to its models. So today we're bringing on Zack Lloyd. Zack is the founder and CEO of Warp, a platform for software developers using AI. Earlier in his career, Zack was actually the principal engineer for Google Docs, and recently he spent a bunch of time using this Gemini 3.0 model. Zack joins me now to tell us how good the model really is and what kind of threat it could pose to others. Zack, great to have you.
Hey, Anita. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Zack, I know this is a bit of a loaded question, but Gemini versus GPT, which do you like better?
My company is in the AI coding space, so I can speak mainly to that. We measure the performance of all of these models as they come out. And as of today, we are at the top of the benchmarks, at least one of the main benchmarks. Warp is called Terminal Bench, and we're there using primarily Gemini. So I do think Google had a real advance last week. Gemini 3 is a far superior model to Gemini 2.5 Pro, and it's certainly at least comparable, if not maybe a little bit ahead of the pack right now when it comes to using models for agentic development, which is a very important space, obviously.
So you'd say it's better than any of the OpenAI models in that regard?
At the moment, if you really press me, I think I'm just based off the data here. And so we're going off what we measure. Our best result on any evals right now has been with Gemini 3. That said, if you look at actual usage within our product, there's probably still more usage for GPT over Gemini. And then, historically, actually, the leading models in the coding space have been from Anthropic. So they've been the Claude models. And so at the moment, it's a really interesting situation. I think we have three very, very capable models from Google, OpenAI, and Anthropic, all pretty much sitting at not that different of a spot when it comes to coding capabilities. And what's new is that Google has really made up a bunch of ground.
And would you say that that's specifically in terms of agentic coding? I mean, are there any other sort of workflows that you found that Gemini 3.0 is working better than other models?
So I would say across like all sorts of development tasks. So even going beyond coding. So you can have Gemini doing DevOps tasks. You can have it investigating why your servers are crashing. It's super capable. It's really capable. And we've measured this when it comes to doing sort of like long horizon tasks. And this is one of the ways that these models are improving over time is like you need sort of less and less hands-on keys, human guidance of them. And Gemini is a very good example of this where it can run for longer and longer time frames. Outside of the coding domain, I don't really feel personally qualified to comment. I watch the news like everyone else. I do think that if there are areas where I see them spiking, it is more in sort of image generation, image recognition. They have a new model, Nano Banana, which is really good. So I do think, like, to me, the headline is like Google is really in the game right now, whereas before it was a little bit more of a two-man show.
Yeah, is that something that surprises you? Because at least to me, it seems like all this chatter about Google has been pretty recent.
I mean, honestly, it shouldn't be surprising if you look back at the sort of history of LLMs. A lot of the technology originated at Google from Google engineers. Obviously, the original Transformer paper was from Google. A lot of the original talent, that seeded places like OpenAI and Anthropic was Google talent. And Google just is in such a strong position commercially here that they should be able to execute on this, right? They have incredible amounts of data. They have incredible infrastructure. I think it's overlooked often, but they're one of NVIDIA's only competitors when it comes to actually making, AI chips. And they have huge amounts of money. So they have everything you need to be really successful. It's to me, it's not surprising at all that they have like managed to ship something that is state of the art here.
You mentioned that Google makes its own chips. I mean, another piece of the AI stack that it's touching is that it is a cloud provider. And I wanted to
Yes.
ask you how important you think it is for a model maker to actually be a cloud provider. I mean, does that matter?
I think I think there's an advantage at scale to having the cloud as well. So I think if you look at like the the sort of value chain in the AI space, you have NVIDIA doing quite well. Then you have, on top of that, you have whoever is like basically running the data centers and serving the models or doing the training. That's like they take margin. Then there's model providers who take margin. Then there's application layer. And if you can have an integrated version of that, I think you have more control over where you capture value, and you have um, more of an opportunity to optimize by having a fully integrated solution. So I don't know. I'm ex Google. I know Google executes really well. I think that they have all of the ingredients for being like, if not sort of dominant here, at least a major player. They have one big problem, in my opinion, which is they have this major innovator's dilemma situation, which is, I think, what has opened the door for ChatGPT specifically to really gain a lot of market share. Is like, I think Google is very cognizant of how do you roll out these AI models without cannibalizing their existing search business. So I think that's like they have this big structural business challenge, but in terms of like being really well positioned to compete, they're very strong.
And do you think Gemini 3.0 and its early success has come as sort of despite that innovator's dilemma?
It's I'm just speaking to the quality of the model. I think the big question is what do they do with it distribution wise? How do they roll it into their search properties? How do they roll it out across their apps? So from Warp's position, we use it via an API. We use it through their cloud. It's just like it's unambiguously a great thing for us to have Google ship a great coding model that's competitive with OpenAI's and Anthropic's. It drives prices down for anyone who's building a coding app, so like us or Cursor. It creates options for our users so that our users have choice about which model is going to suit their workflow best. When it comes to how Google is going to integrate it across the rest of their properties, I'm super curious to see. I don't know. I think it's only in their interest to obviously have better model technology, but like, how they'll integrate that in search, I have no idea.
Obviously, Zach, there's two pieces to this. There's
Yep.
the model quality piece, and there's also the business model itself. So I
Yep.
want to kind of press you here a little bit. I mean, let's
Sure.
fast forward to 3 years from now, right? Of
Okay.
all the frontier models out there, all the companies that are making them, you have OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, I guess Alibaba is in there too. Who do you think will be the leading player?
Yeah. So I think, again, hard for me to say 3 years out. I think what we want and what I think will happen is that you will have a competitive environment on the model side. I think everyone who's making one of these frontier models is going to want to have some killer app that's attached to it. I think it's going to be actually very hard to just be in the model API business as a sole business, meaning like, I think ChatGPT is a great example. It's like OpenAI started off in the API business, but they found a killer consumer app. Gemini, Google is going to obviously put it into all of its, they're going to find some way to put it into its search and its other properties. Anthropic is the one where I think that like they are moving as fast as they can to find enterprise applications where their models, have an edge. So they're really competing in coding. They'll probably compete in other verticals. I don't know who will win. What I do know is it's going to take a ton of capital, and you can see this with all of the data center building and capital raising. So I think it's not going to be like hundreds of companies. It will be some cohort of that group. I don't see a dynamic right now where someone like wins it. The only situation in which some company wins it is kind of what your prior guest was saying, where there's some exponential feedback loop that someone uncovers where that causes the models to be able to self-improve recursively. I don't think we've seen that yet. That's still more in like the realm of theory than reality. So I don't know, but my hope is that there's a competitive marketplace at the frontier, and then right behind the frontier, there's a set of great open source or open weight models that actually drastically drive the cost down for people who are building applications.
One thing you mentioned, Zach, was the capital intensivity of this sector. And it brought me back to earlier this year when there was a lot of chatter about DeepSeek. What happened to
Yeah.
DeepSeek in this whole conversation? I mean, how are they going to stack up in a couple of years from now?
So DeepSeek is still there. DeepSeek is still improving. I think what was so shocking about the DeepSeek kind of moment, if you want to call it that, was like I don't think people realized that models coming out of China, and especially models that were open, were quite at frontier level. If I look at it right now, my sense is that DeepSeek is like one step behind. It's like not at the same level if you look at the flagship models like GPT-5, Sonnet 4.5, or Gemini 3. Can they catch up? I don't know. I think there's been there's a lot of restrictions on the sort of technology that you can get to build AI in China. However, my understanding, and I'm not the most qualified person in the world on this, but my understanding is like that people find a way when there's such economic value in building something like a foundation model, and there's such strategic value, especially geopolitically. So I think we will continue to see models like DeepSeek. There's Kimi, there's Quen, there's other models that are just like kind of one step behind. Will they be able to get to true parity or even surpass? I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but we'll see.
Well, the chatbot wars are always interesting. So it was great to
Awesome.
hear your perspective on that, Zach. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.